unfortunately I don't speak Romanian language, so I will try to speak a little bit slower English. Also my name implies, so my name is Sean Lauren, or Sean the Sheep, like most people tell me, because most people when they see my name always have this association with Sean the Sheep. Also my name implies, I'm British, I'm a German guy, but my dad was a citizen from the UK. So I have the pleasure today to speak to you about a very important topic called the remote access challenge and how we replace VPN in a secure way. So why I'm speaking about VPN? Because VPN is one of the big three attack vectors for potential attacks from inside or outside. You can read it on Microsoft reports, also on BeyondTrust reports. For those who don't know us yet, we are a privileged access management vendor and have different solutions within the Palm space to basically make connections from inside or external connections way easier for you. And hopefully at the end of the slide deck, you will understand how we do it and why it's a more secure way. Due to the amount of time, we have 30 minutes. Unfortunately, I can't give you the possibility to ask questions, but feel free after the slide deck presentation to come to the booth. It's downstairs, BeyondTrust, and speak. No problem. So let's start by speaking about what are today's challenges for privileged remote access. When you think about VPN, it's basically a very, very old, ancient technology. So I'm turning 38 next month, and VPN is nearly as old as me. And VPN has a few caveats which we will speak later. One of the biggest is scalability and security bring challenges with VPN. So when we look at all those attacks which have happened, and every day a lot of attacks are happening, we mostly see that VPN was breached, RDP, so native RDP protocol Microsoft was breached, or even way easier, very easy domain admin password to guess by brute force attack, by getting it stolen, and then basically compromising the whole network. Other funny things I saw in the past, not that long ago, and it's NFL, so American football. There was a camera basically showing into a big launch, and on a white paper in the background there was a domain admin and even Wi-Fi password. And basically everyone who saw this live television streaming could have basically do something with that. So it's really an issue that we see all those attacks and basically companies paying ransom. So what we also see is like a digital transformation for several years, and like the shift how we worked like 30 years ago when I was still a very small child of 8 years versus today's work and how we work. When you think about the COVID pandemic, we basically had the shift from people working physically in an office, next day from remote, so basically home office. Of course, your home office hasn't had the same security implemented like physically in your office. I have an example. We had a customer like 10,000 remote workers before COVID working from remote, and when COVID hit the world, unfortunately, it was like 50,000 remote workers who now needed to work from home, basically meaning IT guys had to set up VPN tunnels, VPN licenses, firewalling, etc. And I can tell you from discussions I had with customers and partners that, of course, there was some lack of doing it properly in such a small amount of time. Also think about bring your own device. So people now want to basically get their own device into networks, which is also a huge security challenge. And what we typically see is that those users have what we call the all access right, so admin right, and with that they can do everything. So even though you as an IT admin say like, please use the regular IT tools we defined, they have admin rights, so basically they build a shadow IT beneath your original IT, which leads to a situation where when an auditor comes, you have a huge problem for sure and a lot of homework to do afterwards. One of the principles we often see in that world is zero trust or least privilege principle, and in the past zero trust was more focused around network-based perimeters, Now it's more about users, assets, and resources, which are your most valuable data within your network. So speaking about VPN, what are the disadvantages? By today, you have a lack of access restriction. You can't really restrict networks. You have people who are using their own devices you are potentially not aware of because you don't have any sort of reporting. You never have a complete audit trail, like when was which user logged in, which is important to know. Which systems did they access? Maybe there was a critical one. And how did the user access that system? And basically, yeah, the connection isn't seen by your IT, depending on how big the company is. Other disadvantages is limitation of user authorization, and it's about how can users access those endpoint systems. Do they need an account? Another big thing is integration possibilities for VPN, so connection to a ticket system which might be used by your customer, let's say ServiceNow, Jira, BMC, Remedy, connection to an FA system, so secure, or even to a SIEM tool like QRadar or Splunk, that you can do behavioral analysis and even get an alert notification, which you don't get with VPN at the moment. This is a number which is pretty scary. When we speak to our customers, we often hear and see that numbers that by average 182 accesses every week are done by third-party providers. So basically, people who are not sitting direct physically in your network, they sit somewhere else from a location perspective, and now need to do a secure remote connection into your network, which isn't really perfectly done by VPN, and I will show you how we do it way better than with traditional VPN connection. So basically the solution we have is that we can access and restrict target systems. So we can basically say you are allowed, you are not allowed, I'm allowed. So you can really, from a granular perspective, say like who is allowed to do what, with what permission at what time, and even if you want, you can put up like approval workflow. So somebody else with 2 eyes or 4 eyes or 6 eyes principle is looking and can say like, yeah, Sean is allowed to access the critical domain controller, for example. Everything gets monitored by our solution, which is great. So you see everything if you want. And we have like very flexible authentication like Airbus, Radios, 2FA, even FIDO2 now, which was released like 2 weeks ago in our solution. So we really have way more security layers implemented in our solution than with the traditional VPN. Okay, let's go to the next one. We can restrict like that unknown devices are not unknown, they are known by us because we are reporting, we can see everything which is going through our solution. And like I said, we even have the possibility to do approval workflows. So 4 eyes principle or more eyes is always the best, because then you can really see like, is that user really supposed to target this endpoint system? You can combine it with SIEM tools. I already said it, like QRadar, Splunk, so you can even do behavioral analysis and even get notification if something suspicious is happening, and you pretty much have now the view to do something if something might happen. One of the greatest capabilities in our solution is, last point, management and use of passwords. So basically, we have something what is called the vault, and the vault at the end does the following. When you do a session via our solution to the endpoint, it basically injects a password out of the vault, and the password is passwordless. So basically, your end customer doesn't know the password. And by not knowing the password, you don't do stupid ideas, which I saw a lot during my service desk time several years ago, going to customers, and you see under the monitor a yellow sticky note like domain admin plus domain admin password. I saw it so many times and said to my customers like, you shouldn't do that. And typical excuses like, yeah, we have so many passwords, how we are supposed to better manage them. And then this would have been a great solution, but at that time, unfortunately, I didn't know the solution. It was around 2012. So I show you now how a typical remote access looks with VPN. So you have from the left side non-compliant bring your own device. You use your VPN client to do the VPN connection. You have basically all ports opened up, no secure pathway, limited authentication possibilities, no approval workflows with VPN, no credential management, so like passwords plus injection into it, and by that, no visibility, auditing, session monitoring or recording. So basically, you are blind. Think about the situation, you are a customer, you have 10,000 employees, and half of them need to go through a VPN. You don't know what they are doing. How does it look with our solution? Different. What we do is we have an appliance. It can be in our cloud, in your cloud. It can be virtual or physical appliance. And that appliance basically gives us a great set of granularity in terms of flexibility by that we can say like which device is really trusted by us and which user. By that we have a secure pathway into the network. We have flexible authentication methods, like I said, radios, Kerberos, TOTP, TULEP, MFA, and recently released FIDO2, so basically a hardware token like a YubiKey, which I even have on my laptop over here. Conditional access, so we can even say like a condition must be met before the access is allowed to the system. We have approval workflows, which is really great. Notification goes out to a set of people who are supposed to be the approvers. They say like, yep, we know Sean, yes, Sean wants to go on Saturday for half an hour on the domain controller to do this and that. Not a problem, we approve it. And the good thing is, even if Sean now has the approval to get to that system and do his half an hour maintenance, if he doesn't, or if he isn't successful within that 30 minutes, he automatically gets kicked out of the session by the appliance as a security feature. And in that case, if he still needs to do something, you would have to go through the approval workflow again. We have credential management, like I said, so we can inject into the session, which is great because, like I said, every password you don't know is the best password in the world. And with that, we have everything what we don't have with VPN. We can offer okay. And visibility, auditing, session monitoring, recording. And this is from a technical perspective how we do it. So we have the technician on the left side, our cloud or physical or virtual client. Basically, we have so-called jump clients, so agents for Windows, Mac, Linux, which you install on the endpoints. And what they do, they basically send a so-called heartbeat communication to our appliance, say like, hey, yes, I'm the domain controller, I'm reachable, you are allowed to exit it due to what has been set for you from the administrator. And for cases where you have machines where you are not allowed to install an agent, but you have in some other subnet the possibility to install something, you can use something what we call the jump point, and you get additional connection methods like RDP, BNC, SSH. So I told you RDP, besides VPN, and besides stolen credential, is a big active vector, but for us, it's RDP through our appliance, which means like flexible authentication, etc., what you don't have with the native Microsoft protocol. So all of our nice capabilities are done. Session monitoring, you can even have a look, like Alexis is now on a machine. Alexis is pretty new to the company. You are the IT admin and you don't trust him yet so much. I'm sorry, Alexis. And so you just now go into the session where Alexis is working and have a look if he's really doing what he's supposed to do or if he's doing something suspicious because he got fired and you weren't aware as an IT admin. You can basically kick him out and he doesn't have a chance, like bypassing you and getting into that session again. So how many time have we left? 12 minutes it must be. Yeah, perfect. So I can say a few other things. What is most important is, like when you look at the errors, they all go into our appliance. And firewall guys, ladies really love the solution because you don't have to tell them, please open any inbound port. It's always outbound port 443. And the appliance basically acts as a session proxy, so you never ever target the endpoint system. And the great thing about it is when you think about having a third-party vendor, for example, in your network. So you basically now give them access via the traditional RDP, and they have a ransomware infection. They take this ransomware infection into your customer's environment, and they also get infected, which is not good. We, as I said, use the appliance as assessment proxy, so you never have a direct connection to the endpoint system, which means even though your third-party vendor might now have a ransomware infection, he never takes the ransomware infection into your network, which is great. Oh. Okay. What else can we say? I'm just looking through my notes at the moment if I missed something important. No, so maybe I was a little bit quicker than expected. So if you have any questions, feel free to show them now at me. So we use the last 10 minutes for questions. Anyone has a question? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Sean, repeat the question.
Yeah.
Repeat the question for
okay, sorry for repeating the question. The guy over here asked like which identity provider we use for FIDO2 connection. So in the last release, what we implemented is YubiKey. It's the small thing I have over here, the hardware token. And it was just recently released in the last release, so I'm not aware yet what other identity providers will support it in the future. But for now, YubiKeys work great.
I think he was also maybe asking about Active Directory integration,
yeah.
Kerberos integration.
We all do that, Azure AD, no problem. I guess, yeah.
This is all stuff.
But good question, thank you for it. Someone else? What wanted to volunteer and ask a question? There is of course a possibility if you are interested into testing like an evaluation version of it, it's always doable, just come to us. Like I said in the beginning, we have a booth downstairs, BeyondTrust. Alexis is...
the guy shooting in the back.
Right, the guy over there, and I'm doing the technical stuff for basically partners. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Do you have possibility to restrict jumping from one RDP session to another? For example, we go into the server using remote access architecture and connect to the one RDP server with, let's say, admin privileges. And on that Windows server, can we use it as a jump point?
You can have like several connections via the jump point, etc. So it's doable. Yes, you can even
restrict that.
Yeah, you can restrict it. You can even say like if you want several people to be in the RDP session in parallel, it's also doable. It's a very granular solution where you can really like configure like everything, really everything. It's a lot you can configure and restrict. Yes. Sorry, I didn't understand the last word. Another question? Yeah.
I have from a case study.
Yes.
Because we have partners that are supporting us beyond
Yeah, right.
So let's say I'm
it is a bomb
just a brand name, okay? So let's say I'm an admin, I manage a server and you connect to a remote client. Okay, I run of course the one-time link. And I guess instruction, please reboot the server.
Yeah.
So after I do that, the remote technician automatically reconnects to the session even when the server is rebooted.
Yeah, when it's rebooted to the Windows page.
Yeah, how does this in practice work? I don't.
It's via the agent. We have so it's a jump client deployed to the machine, like for Windows, Mac, or Linux. That's what we support, and it's done via the agent.
So until the session is terminated, by myself, for example, still an extra session and the agent is aware.
Yes, but you are always able to quit it. You can even say like technician get out, and you can even like it's a button, one click.
Yeah, I understand.
If you want our inbound connection, the agents then apply to the appliance to see when the session is going to be reconnected, and that's why it's transparent for all the users.
Yeah.
That's mentioned.
It's not mentioned.
Yeah, this is.
Are the jump clients necessary to be installed on the servers or endpoints for solution to work?
So jump client, no, you can also use jump points depending on what type of connection you want to do.
You need an agent
Yeah.
on the network, target network. So we need to put the jump point, which is the client, the deported client in the network, and then this jump point is going to build the RDP connection agentless with the final target. Because for industrial, for some weird asset, you cannot install.
Yeah, I understand.
But you still need to access.
Good question. Someone else? Alexis, do you want to add something? We still have 5 minutes left.
Well, thank you all for your attention. Basically, in short, this technology is pretty powerful, able to replace VPNs, but also all your remote control solution that could be shadow ID. You can replace your PNC, TeamViewer, login, etc., and propose the same functionality, but matching the security requirement of an IT solution. So that's why we are really successful on that area, because we have 2 products: remote support for the US people, this one PRA for the third party unattended session, and we can have the better of both worlds, which is secure connectivity, so it's SSL portal, but we can keep all the functionality that makes all those remote control solutions friendly to users, because you can interact with the end user, you can have an easy way to launch a session, etc. In terms of control, if you need to do post-mortem analysis and stuff, you cannot comply with an audit with this kind of tool. With this, you can show proof that all the connections are secure, audited, trail. You can do post-mortem analysis. Look, for example, when did the guy type this command? You're going to be pointed at the video in that moment when you type this command, because you don't have to watch 4 hours of video.
Who has access to monitor session or the recording session?
Yeah, and then you can have delegation of administration. If you have a big team, you can have a super administrator providing, let's say, a certain level of delegation of administration to several guys to monitor.
So do you record keystrokes?
Yes, and we filter.
So do you filter when someone types the password in the monitor session?
The idea is to activate the vault, to inject the password. But we don't want the password to be typed anymore.
Yeah, I understand that. But if I am on the domain controller, I want, or some other application, or I don't know, SSH to some Unix, Linux box, I can also type some kind of password there.
We can manage SSH keys.
Yeah, we have a password hiding master.
We can
My question is, if I type some kind of sensitive information, for example, password or some services, and here you are using keystrokes,
Okay.
will this be like in the monitoring session?
Yeah, but you can have like a,
Yeah, it's a password hiding mask.
exactly. And even for GDPR kind of compliance, you can also have anonymization of the session, of the log, to do a black stuff on the IP address, etc., and including the password. Thank you all. If you have any other question, if you are too shy to speak right now, we can speak outside. If not, we can be in touch through our dear partner, Real Security, and enjoy the rest of your evening. It's great. I think there is a barbecue party this afternoon.
Yes.
Let's go for it.